Hey, I've been reading this book. It's called The Dynamic Laws of Healing by Catherine Ponder. It's kind of an older book. I think it's been around for a while. Um, but, sometimes old is good. Those of us who've gotten older would say, yes. I think it says it was revised and updated in 1985, which sounds like a long time ago now, right? Can you believe that? Yes, indeed. Anyway, talking about the dynamic laws of healing, and as I've said before, healing is a huge topic in my life and a huge interest because I've had some things in my life that required healing, and I have been the recipient a couple of times of some fantastic spiritual healings in my own life. So I'm not an expert, but I know that it happens. I know there's such thing as spontaneous healing. When I was 9 years old, there was a lot of stress in my life. My family had moved from a small town into a larger city. My dad was away working construction. My mom was going to cosmetology school to become a cosmetologist. And we were, the three of us, my two older brothers and myself, were in a environment and situation that was something that we weren't used to, being in a larger place, both parents being away most of the day, my dad sometimes gone for a week or two, and then my mom leaving early in the morning and getting back later in the evenings. And that was just a super stressful time for me. I was 9 years old and I developed an ulcer. So, the stress in my life was pretty high for, being a kid. I had that ulcer until I was 18 years of age, and I received a miraculous healing at an Assemblies of God church during a revival time where the emphasis was on healing. There was a lot of preaching on healing out of the Bible. And one night during that revival, I remember just knowing I was going to be healed. I just felt it. They were talking about healing, and they said, well, if you need to need healing or need to be healed, stand up. And I stood up, and the second I stood up, I knew I was healed. I had received my healing in my body. There was absolutely no doubt in my mind that I was completely healed from this ulcer situation that I'd had since I was 9 years old. Then they said, well, why don't you come down and we'll lay hands on you and pray for your healing? And I went down kind of out of courtesy, but I'd already been healed before anyone laid hands on me. I just heard the word, I had faith, I believed, and I was instantaneously healed of that ulcer. And about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And through a process of meditation and belief, and I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing like I know what I'm doing now, but I received healing. It took a 2 year period. And I recently just went through another healing period after 2 years of some undiagnosed gastro problem that I'd been having. I think is related to some of my anti-rejection medications after having a kidney transplant about 12 years ago. So I know a thing or two about healing personally. I'm not an expert, but I have experienced it and I know that it's real. And so it is super, super important in my life. And I know that it's super important in a lot of people's lives. It's also occurred to me with the way things are going in the medical field in America. We need alternative ways of healing, and people are starting to really wake up to that concept more and more and reach out beyond the typical ways of thinking about getting your healing versus always just going to a doctor or a pharmacy to get that kind of help. So again, this book is really making an impression on me, and we've been talking about some of the laws of healing. In chapter 6, the healing law of praise is what we're going to talk about. The expression of praise as thanksgiving, gratitude, and joy is among the most powerful forms of affirmation. And I love what she says here. If you wait to be healed before you express thanksgiving, you may wait indefinitely. One of the greatest secrets of healing is to praise and give thanks for it right in the face of the illness before there is anything to give thanks for. The reason praise is so powerful for healing is this: what you praise, you increase. Praise liberates and releases the life force that is pent up in the atoms of your body. Words that express gratitude, praise, and thanksgiving release certain potent energies of mind and body that are not otherwise tapped into. Praise also liberates the finer essences of the soul that are necessary for complete healing. Through praise and thanksgiving, you activate the dynamic powers of the subconscious and superconscious phases of your being, which act speedily for your improved health. You can praise yourself from weakness to strength, from ignorance to intelligence, from poverty to affluence, from sickness to health. And I have found this to be absolutely true. The law of praise when it comes to healing. And I didn't always know that, and I didn't always recognize that when I received my first dynamic healing in that church service. Of course, we had our praise and worship time and that type of thing, but that wasn't really where my mind was. I was healed through faith in the word that was spoken. But I've since learned, as I have grown in my own spiritual walk, that praise and thanksgiving and gratitude is huge. Your mindset, what it does for you, how it releases your faith and uplifts you so that you can come into a place of vibrational attunement and alignment to what it is that you desire. Now, it's not always easy. It's not always the easiest thing in the world to do when you're not feeling good, when you're in pain, when you have a lot of questions, when you don't know what's going on, when maybe you've been going to the doctors back and forth and trying to set up appointments and that type of thing and just getting frustrated. I had a doctor during this 2-year period of time that I was going to see and talk to as a general practitioner doctor. Um, and it was getting really frustrating because I would say, well, here's my symptoms. And this particular doctor didn't really have a diagnosis, wasn't really diagnosing anything, but saying, well, it could be this or it might be that. Why don't you try this particular pill or this particular medication? And I'm the type of person that I'm very reluctant to take any kind of medication. I do not like taking pills, period. I just don't want to do it. I'll do it if I have to, but I don't like it. Because I've learned over the years that there are a lot of side effects to those medications. And they don't always tell you all the side effects. They just tell you what the perceived benefit is that you're going to get. Well, this medication is going to do this, and let's give it some time and see what it does, without sometimes going, well, that's true that it might be helpful, but I need to talk to you about what some of those side effects could be. And most of us either are ignorant of it, don't have a clue and take it anyway, or we do our own research, or we talk to the pharmacist, or we say, how's this going to affect my other medications, that type of thing. And then maybe we decide it's not something we want to do. But anyway, this particular doctor was just doing this, and finally I said, this feels a little bit like malpractice because you don't really have a diagnosis. You don't truly know what's wrong with me. You're just prescribing medication. It's like you're just throwing the dart and hoping that it's going to hit the bullseye. And I am the person who has to take the risk. So a little bit of a rant there, a little bit of venting, but realizing that we got to find other ways. We got to find other ways to find our healing. There's alternative ways that we're looking at now more so than ever because we're realizing that we need to take some of this responsibility into our own hands and learn maybe some of the dynamic laws of healing in our life. And praise is one of the really big ones. It is possible for persistent praise to make a complete change in one's health and appearances. And the author of the book goes on to give a number of explanations about how that can work. The late Dr. Ernest Holmes of Los Angeles, founder of the religious science movement, whose philosophy has healed countless people, once related an experience in the healing power of praise. He met a healthy, vital woman of 60 who told him that only a year before, at the age of 59, she had been a hopeless cripple suffering from painful arthritis. When Dr. Holmes asked her healing secret, she replied, and I like this, "I made up my mind that there's an intelligent principle everywhere in the universe. It flows through me and I can talk to it. I began to praise it and to tell each joint in my body that I want what I wanted it to do and how wonderful I thought that it was." And within a year, she says she was completely healed. It kind of goes back to something I think that I've talked about before, is that when our bodies are not functioning, when something's going wrong, sometimes we're the worst critics, right? We criticize our body for not working the way we want. And you hear people do that all the time. Complaining about their knee, or complaining about their stomach, or complaining about the headaches, or, what's wrong with my body, and my body's not working, and my body's betraying me, and I can't trust my body, and that type of thing. And yet, what if we were to change that way of thinking a little bit? And what, instead of criticizing our bodies, what if we started to praise and give thanks for our bodies? Give that divine intelligence and source energy praise and thanks for the bodies that we have. In the Bible, you see prayer all the time in the Bible. Praise is a form of prayer. And the Israelites and the Hebrews and early Christians learned that there is a power in praise, in praising. Find the good and praise it. Find the good in your life and praise it. Instead of focusing on what's going wrong or not working not working yet, find the good, find what is working in your life and praise it. And praise the fact that you have the ability given to you through the Holy Spirit, given to you through the power of God to find healing in your bodies. Well, we're going to continue to talk about some of the dynamic laws of healing as we go forward. I certainly hope that you're having a beautiful, blessed, wonderful day. And I guess the word for today is find the good. Find the good. Find what little bit you can do. Instead of focusing so much on what is wrong, focus on what is actually working. Lift that up and praise that. And praise the fact and give thanksgiving and gratitude that your healing is on the way. In fact, it's manifesting right now. You may not see it. You may not even feel it. But if you praise it, you'll increase it. And that sounds like a deal you can't beat. Well, that's it, and that's all for the Curious Cat Show today. And for Lucky Cat Wisdom, I'm LK Lucky Cat. Remember, we're the only program that Curious Cats ask for by name. Do me a favor. If you got even a little bit of benefit out of this talk this morning, just even a smidge, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe, pass it on. We're trying to do something great here. We want to see more and more healing. I want to have more and more healing in my life, and as that happens, I want to see that happen for you. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching the Curious Cat Show, and we're out of here.